Have you ever been in a conversation where you can tell the other person isn't listening? It happens all the time. We all need to grow in our listening skills, especially when it comes to faith-based conversations.
Jesus had this teaching. He'd often say, "Whoever has ears to hear, let them hear." Jesus can actually teach us how to listen to him and to others so that people become curious about who he is. Ears to Speak is about inspiring spiritual curiosity through listening.
We're your hosts, Maddison Bertunis
And Jessica Leapfick. Hey, thanks for listening to the podcast today. We are talking about creating space for relationships. And if you're like us, you find yourselves crazily busy, wondering what you can say no to, and then feeling sad at the end of the night because you wish you would have hung out with a friend instead of binge watching This Is Us or some other show on Netflix.
Last Chance You. We've been into that one lately.
Yeah?
It's good.
I don't even know what that's about.
It's about this football team in East Mississippi. It's very fascinating. It's like real documentary, football documentary. Yeah, it's about these football players who are incredibly good, but they get kicked out of their colleges for whatever reason, or they're failing their classes.
Wow.
And so they inevitably come to this community college as a last chance to get their grades up and to be exposed to recruiters. And it's all about the lives of these kids, and it's great.
That sounds really interesting and inspiring.
It is. It's good.
That's cool.
You should all watch it.
Nice.
So what are we talking about today?
We're not talking about our favorite television shows, Last Chance You, or in my case, iZombie. Love me some iZombie on Netflix.
I mean, it's part of life.
Yeah. But sometimes you get sucked into it. And so we're
do.
talking about how to get out of it, how to create space for relationships with people in your life you don't know, people that are far from God, people that you wish you could spend more time with, and actually spending time with Jesus. So what have you been doing lately, Maddison, to create space for relationships? Obviously, hanging on the couch with your husband, watching the show.
Yes.
But, what
and I
what
will
else?
say that we only do that when it's, like, right before bedtime. So normally I could say, hey, maybe y'all should stop watching so much Netflix and go hang out with people. But sometimes that's
okay.
You can't replace that time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You're not going to go out with your friend at 10:30 at night on a Tuesday.
Exactly. That's just, we're not in college anymore.
Unless you live in a cool place like New York City, and then you're doing it. But, folks, we live in Kansas. We're tired.
Folks.
We
say folks.
We're married. We got children's.
Yeah. So
we're going to bed.
For me, how I would answer that question, how am I creating space for relationships lately? I have asked friends to go do things with me that I'm already going to go and do.
Oh, cool. Like what?
So, for example, I really wanted to get a pedicure. And I'm pregnant. I need one.
Yeah.
And I was like, hey, Susie, you want to go get a pedicure with me? And she was like, absolutely. My feet look terrible. So we went and got a pedicure together. And obviously, when you're getting a pedicure, you're just sitting there next to each other.
Right.
And if she wasn't with me, I probably would have been sleeping through it. But since she was there, we talked like the whole time.
Yeah.
We caught up, and it was great.
Yeah.
So that's one way I've been doing that lately, because I honestly don't have a whole lot of time to be like, hey, let's go to dinner. Hey, let's go to a movie. But asking people to come do things with you that you know you're already going to do.
Yeah.
What about you?
Yeah.
How are you creating space for relationships lately?
Thanks for asking that question. I think in some ways, doing what you're doing, just inviting people into the stuff that's already happening, like we need to eat dinner so we can have people over for dinner.
Right. Gotta eat.
I think that the relationship that gets pushed to the side most easily is my relationship with Jesus. So I was in a bad space last week, and I knew, like, hey, I just need to spend some time with Jesus, kind of being refreshed, not like doing an intense Bible study or dancing around my living room to worship music or something, but just going and being with him. Because, I don't really do that, but you know what I'm saying. Anyways, so my husband, bless his heart, he recognized this and said, you need to get out of here.
Get out, lady.
Get out. So he said, you need to take a bike ride or go journal or something. And thankfully he sees that in me. So he kicked me out of the house to go spend some time just by myself with Jesus. And So I took a little bike ride, found a pretty spot to hang up my hammock, and just sat and journaled for a little while. Journaled about the mess that was going on inside of me. And after a while, I just kind of laid there looking up at the trees. And it felt so great because so much of our life is about producing stuff that I think we just forget to be present to the people in our lives, to say relationships matter. It's not about being as efficient as possible. It's about including people and helping them see God in your life, whether that's getting a pedicure or inviting them to do something with you, or just taking that time to recharge and confess what's going on inside. So
those are all great things.
yeah. Well, we hope you guys find places in your life where you can create space for relationships, and hopefully what you hear today is going to inspire you to take some steps towards doing that. We are talking about actually something really, really important, I think, to all of us. And it is, how do I make time to create relationships with people who don't know Jesus? I think as we've talked to friends and each other, it feels like, man, I barely have time for myself, let alone, one, my friends that I know, two, people who aren't Christian that I may be starting to get to know, or just friends in your life that you want to connect with more, but it feels like, man, there's just too much stuff to do. So, Maddison, what have been some things that you found that help you slow down life?
I was thinking about this the other day, and the thought came to my mind that a lot of our listeners are probably like, hey, I totally agree with you guys. I think sharing my faith would be great.
Yeah.
But when am I supposed to have time to do that?
Nice idea, ladies, but thanks.
Yeah.
No thanks.
You're really helping me out here.
Yeah.
And so
adding one more thing on my already filled to-do list to make me feel guilty.
Yeah. And I think that came up for me recently because I'm in that place right now, and I'm trying to figure it out for myself.
Yeah.
And so hopefully as time goes on, God will show me and I'll be able to share more helpfully what I've done. But what I'm learning so far is that my life has become a lot busier lately with having a 6-year-old living in my house.
Yeah.
Whereas before it was just me and my husband, and we have baby number 1 on the way.
Right. So baby number 1 on the way, and you're
my 6-year-old sister's living
kind
with
of
us.
Guardian of your sister right now. That came up pretty quick.
Yeah. Came up really fast. And so going from being like, oh, we're just enjoying our marriage. I mean, I almost said like singleness, but it's not singleness.
No,
it's
singleness, childless freedom. Where you're like, what do you want to do tonight? I don't know. What do you want to do?
Absolutely
Going
nothing.
from that to like, oh my gosh, I got to get her in the bath. Somebody load the dishwasher. Somebody make lunches. Blah blah blah.
It's
oh gosh,
full-time mom life that I haven't even.
You haven't even had your first baby.
Yeah. So now I'm thinking, what did I even do before? Like, I would complain about not having time to do things, and I totally had time to do things.
Yes.
So now it's real.
Yeah.
That
you had time to paint your nails before.
I know. And now, I mean, I'll go at least 2 weeks before I paint my nails, which may seem like still quick for other people, but for me, it's not.
I just chip it all off. I start picking it off if it starts to chip.
Yeah.
Anyways,
so it's gotten to the point with me where I go because my type of personality, Jessica, I know you're like this too. If I'm not go all the time, my mind is still go all the time. So even if I'm just sitting around, like I'm constantly thinking about other things I need to be doing. Oh, yeah. I'm thinking about next week. I'm thinking about what 10 years from now. Like
dinner. Yeah.
Yeah. So I can burn out pretty quickly. And now even more so that I have another human being to care for, and I'm not caring for myself as much because I'm just worrying about taking care of other people. So I got to the point, it was like a couple of weeks ago, where I was not a nice person. I realized that I wasn't taking care of myself. No self-care. No, this is what I need right now. Yeah. And I got to the point where I was being mean. I was nagging. I was being short with my family.
It's kind of like you watch yourself doing that, and it's like a train wreck. You're like, no, I don't want to do this, but I can't
You can't stop. It's terrible.
It's a horrible feeling.
So I finally just kind of broke down and was like, I just can't right now. And at that point, I didn't even know how to get out of that. So I'm learning this about myself for the first time. And I think a lot of women have already learned I need to do ABC before I get to that point.
Right.
And even if I do get to that point, I know that I need to go take a nap, or I need to go and take a walk.
Take a little break.
Or I need to do this. And I didn't even know what to do for myself. Yeah. So I've been trying to discover what those things are in my life.
That's really good.
And I think that what that has to do with what we're talking about today is if I can't even take care of myself and get the things done in my own life that need to get done, because that's the reality. We have things
not
every
just tasks,
single day
but like,
that need to get done.
Hey, I should, schedule time with coffee for a friend because that's good for my soul.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's really difficult when we have stuff to do every single day, and then to stop and to think about making time for somebody else is really overwhelming.
It is.
But I think that we can tend to allow those things to be excuses.
Yeah.
And so I've just been learning a few things that I can do
to
make that time.
Because you know what happens once you get to that place and you feel burned out and angry, you have no emotional energy to reach out to anyone, and you feel sad and lonely, and you're like, I want to call someone and I want to hang out with them, but I don't know who. I don't know who. Everyone else is too busy to. And it just feels crappy. So
I think what I'm trying to say is before you can get to that point where you're like scheduling all these fun meetups with people, you have to take care of yourself, and you have to be energized, and you have to feel like you have that to give to somebody. Sure. Because if you just show up anyway out of obligation, you're not going to be giving your best self.
Yeah.
And they're going to be able to see it all over your face.
Yeah.
So, Jessica, what about you?
Yeah. I think sometimes it is okay to show up out of obligation, because I think sometimes when you show up, God can change your heart.
Yeah,
and
that's
you're like,
true.
Man, I'm glad I came out tonight.
I agree with that.
I was tired. I had so much to do. But, man, I just needed to be with some friends. Yeah. I just needed to go take this walk or go to a baseball game or whatever. So it's a both and. And that is part of the discovery of learning who God's made you to be. And I think this is a lot of what we're talking about. Like, living fearless is discovering who God has made you to be, and responding to that, and making choices to care for who you are and to care for the people in your life so that they see the love of God in you. I feel like there's been a lot of great talk recently, like Rebecca Lyons and Shauna Niequist put out books like Present Over Perfect and You Are Free, just about taking space to rest and create that space for relationships and not try to get everything done. So I'm so thrilled that God seems to be sparking this movement amongst women to say, guys, you can't do it all. So don't try. Enjoy this life. Enjoy the love that I have for you. Show this love to other people, because it says in Scripture, they'll know they're Christians by their love. You are marked by love. You're known by love. It's not you're known by how clean your kitchen is. You're known as a Christian because you've accomplished so much. Or they'll know you're a Christian because you
look great.
You look super hot, She must be a Christian. She's got buns of steel.
And she's got the best top knot.
Yeah. So a big part of our witness is to just stop and say, enough. I'm not going to live this frantic, harried life. I'm going to learn to slow down and create relationships. So I think a big thing for me is, one, finding things that restore and refresh me. So like you said, when you get to that point where you're like, I'm kind of out of control. Like, I don't even know how to get back to a good, healthy place. Like, I've had friends and spiritual directors through the years who've helped me figure out this toolkit of like, all right, when you're in this rough place, what do you need to do to have your soul refreshed? Because it's not going to be working more. It's not going to be cleaning more. It's not going to be accomplishing. It's going to be being. So for me, slowing down has looked like creating space to bake. I really love baking. And so making muffins or pies, and then just enjoying that or sharing that with a friend or neighbor. It's looked like embroidery. So doing something with my hands and creating something that feels like, hey, I've started and I finished. And it's not like parenting or cleaning a house where it's like never ending,
defeated,
where you feel like, oh my gosh, like, when is this going to stop? And then too, just getting outside, taking some walks, and not always pushing so hard to like burn calories, get in shape, but just saying like, gosh, that is a amazingly beautiful cardinal, and I'm just going to stop and watch it for a little while while I'm on this walk. And that was really a process of kind of asking God, how have you made me? What are things that actually refresh my soul? What helps bring me rest and rejuvenation? And for everybody that's different. For some people that's going to look like who God made you to be, and that's could be completely different from the next person. So I think sometimes slowing down looks like saying, this is what helps me slow down. It might not help you slow down.
Right.
But I'm going to make a fearless choice to say, like, this is what I need for me right now. So how about for you? Like, what's helped you to slow down, make space for relationships?
Yeah.
With yourself, with God, with others.
Yeah.
Because that's really what this is about. This isn't just like carving out time to spend with friends who aren't Christian. It's carving out time to spend with Jesus so he can restore you, so you can live the kind of life he wants you to have, to be joyful, to be present, to have energy.
Yeah.
So
a couple things that have helped me is, number one, not being afraid to ask for help.
Yeah.
And so I think a lot of women who are married, we're afraid to ask our husbands for help, or we're afraid to just tell them what we need. We think that they can just read our mind, and that's not true.
Yeah. I'd say when you're single too. I mean, it's hard to ask for help when you're single.
It's hard to ask for help. Yeah.
Just anybody. Yeah.
So just being honest with Caleb about what I need, or hey, can you help with Mia so that I can just go like lay down or whatever.
Yeah.
And he always is willing.
Yeah.
And that's the thing.
Yep.
So that's been really helpful for me. Another thing is just discovering about myself that even though I'm extroverted and I love being around people, I still need alone time.
Yeah.
And it's so hard for me to put myself in a place where I can have alone time, but when I do, I always feel better.
Yeah, yeah.
And something that Jessica and I have done the past few months is have these days of silence. And that sounds kind of crazy. It sounded crazy to me at first. We'll go to that.
I was like, hey, Madison, do you want to go to a cabin and just spend the day in silence? She's like,
I was
hello,
like,
what?
Interesting. So you're not necessarily in silence the entire day, but the point is to just have a day where you are putting your day-to-day stuff, tasks, work aside to say, I'm just going to spend time with God resting. So when we do our day of silence, like sometimes we'll take a nap.
Oh, heck yeah.
We go our separate ways.
Take a hike, eat slowly and not rush it down so we can get back to the emails.
Yeah. That has helped me tremendously to have those days of silence and prayer.
Yeah.
And then one other thing is social interaction.
Yeah.
So there are times when I just need to go be myself with my friends.
Yeah.
And I need to have a conversation with a gal pal in person.
Yeah.
So those few things help me. And like I said, I'm still trying to figure out more and more what that looks like in my life and how to actually do it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I know for some people listening, they would hear something like taking a day of silence. That would sound like a fantasy land for them, but I think that can even look like taking 15 minutes, taking 15 minutes out of your workday to just go take a walk or read a novel or something that refreshes you. But it really is just creating that intentional space to say, like, I need to be present to God so I can be present to others and so I can experience his love. So
yeah, and so many women find it really hard to take care of themselves because they think that it's a selfish thing.
Right.
Which is not true at all. It's actually the opposite, because when you're taking care of yourself, you can better take care of the people in your life.
Yeah.
I know a lot of women who are like that, and it breaks my heart.
It
I just
is
want to be
hard.
like, no, take care of yourself, please.
Yeah. So, like, creating space for relationships looks like slowing down your life. It can look like figuring out what has to get done and what can wait. So,
oh, yes.
And obviously this is different temperaments. Like, for me, I'm like, cleaning can always wait. I'm like, the dishes can be done later. The floor can be swept later. Like, I want to go get ice cream with my friends. One of the things I've done is to make a do not do list. And I've especially done this like at Christmas, where everything seems to be like pressing in and like I need to do everything. So I have literally, instead of like, I will make a to-do list, but then I will say, like, I'm not going to work on this project. I'm not going to tackle this. I'm not going to make this phone call because that can wait till next week. And
wow, that's cool.
Yeah, and even though things really feel urgent and pressing, like, at least I've captured them on paper to say, these are things I want to do, but I do not have to pursue those right now. These are the essentials. These are the necessaries. So how about you? I mean, you're You're more of a cleaner than I am.
I'm a cleaner, but, I stress clean. And so.
Oh, you do?
That,
God, I wish I had
that
that
really
problem.
helps, keep my house clean because when I get stressed or whatever, I just want to clean everything.
Yeah.
But I'm the opposite. I think for me, trying to figure out what can wait looks like I can leave dishes in the sink when I go to bed.
Sure.
It's going to be okay.
Yeah, nothing's going to happen.
I love a clean kitchen and I hate waking up to dirty dishes in the sink. But I've had to let that go.
Yeah.
And it's for the sake of my family.
Connecting with your husband.
At night,
Getting enough sleep.
Getting enough sleep. Even though I tell myself like, oh, it'll only take like 5 minutes to do the dishes. It's still, it actually takes longer.
It does.
Once you start and finish.
Which is why
whatever.
I just don't do them.
And just take it from me.
Yeah.
Just don't do it at all. So, yeah, it's figuring out what part of my OCD can I put aside for the sake of the people in my life and for the sake of resting and taking care of myself.
And just saying no to the things that, are constantly kind of nagging you and pursuing you.
And that brings up another great point that it's really hard to say no.
Woo!
So being
creating
honest,
space for relationships, it means saying no.
If you're the type of person that it is really hard for you to say no, it's just a huge step to take. But in my family, we're really close. We're a really tight family. Everybody lives here in the area, and we do a lot of things together.
Yeah.
And there's kind of this overwhelming sense or vibe in our family that you show up to everything.
You show up to everything. Every barbecue. Every flute recital. Yeah.
You say yes, and you do it.
Yeah.
And I know that is all out of love, and it's because we want to all be together. But I've had to work really hard in that family environment to set boundaries and say, no, I need to rest today. I cannot come.
Yeah.
And that's
which is hard because then you
huge.
feel like, oh, I'm disappointing my family. Like, they're going to be mad at me.
But we have to take care of ourselves or we can't.
Yeah.
I can't be there for them.
Yeah.
If I don't take care of myself.
Right. Yeah.
So that has really helped me a lot through the years as well.
Yeah.
What are, I'm curious, some of the excuses that we use as women? For me, looking back on before I had a 6-year-old in my house, I had all the time. Like, I did. I had a lot of time. So what were the excuses that I was using?
Yeah.
And I think
to not create space for relationships.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To avoid it, to just be really selfish about my own time. I think that mine was just laziness. I was just lazy about it. But what are some other excuses you think?
When you say lazy, you feel like it just takes too much effort to contact a friend, figure out a place to meet, figure out her schedule. Yeah.
And also something about me, I do not say I'm going to do something unless I'm going to do it. You have my word. It's because of things that have happened in my childhood.
Sure.
Of being let down constantly.
You let your yes be yes.
I let my yes be yes. And so if I'm going to reach out to a friend and be like, hey, when are you free this week? I've already committed to that person in my mind.
You're not going to flake out last minute. Yeah.
Like, I cannot let myself get out of it.
Sure.
So, exactly. By laziness, I mean, because I'm not committal, I'm not going to even reach out unless I know I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
And so it's hard to not just be like, it's fine, it'll wait.
Yeah. Yeah, I think some of the excuses I make are for other people. I will think, they're too busy to spend time with me. How could I call them up and ask them to come hang out with me for coffee or go see a movie when I know how full their lives are? Or I don't know this person well enough. They wouldn't really want to hang out with me. It would be awkward if I contacted them. So we're relatively new in the Kansas City area. So we're still making relationships, building relationships with people. But to create relationship is that scary risk of stepping out and saying, I want to spend time with you. I want to create space with you. So for me, what that's looked like is getting over myself and asking God to give me the courage to text somebody and say, do you want to go get ice cream tonight? Or, hey, I really need girls' night out who's able to show up. And, sometimes people respond and sometimes they don't, and that's okay. But I feel like God's been teaching me, you have to try. Like, you have to try.
Yeah.
If you want to,
if you want to
get to know people, you got to get together with them and not worry that they're going to just say no. So, yeah.
That's good.
So we've talked about how it's really hard to create space for relationships, what it looks like to slow down our lives, and really to look at the excuses we make that prevent us from creating space for relationship with others. So what are some practical steps all of us can take to helping to create more space in our lives for Christian people, non-Christian people, anybody. I mean, just to create space to get to know people better.
So I would say number one tip from me is know what you need before you get to the breaking point.
Oh, that's a good one.
Which is something that I'm learning in my life right now. So just figuring that out. What does it look like for you to give yourself a break before you break?
Yeah, that's good. So kind of even that sounds like figuring out the warning signs of like when you're starting to break.
Yeah.
Thinking like, yikes, this is a yellow flag right here. I need to do something before it gets to a red flag. So
yes,
yeah, that's really good. I know for me, I have needed to delete Facebook from my phone because it makes me anxious.
Yeah.
And it causes me not to be present to my kids, my husband, the people around me, because I'm always thinking about what's going on out there in people's worlds. Show me nasty pictures of your feet getting injured or,
sick.
Your vacations that I'm just going to feel jealous about.
Right.
I just had to delete it because I realized like it was not actually helping me create relationships at all. I wasn't stopping to talk to my neighbor. I wasn't talking to the person on the elevator or even just thinking like, there's somebody God loves. Maybe I could pray for them and reach out to them. So
right. Those thoughts don't go through my mind very often when I'm on social media.
No.
And it's hard to have that self-control to delete it when you know you should.
Yeah.
Especially when you're somebody who has FOMO.
Oh,
like
heck
you
yes.
feel like you're missing out.
I kept
on what's
Instagram.
going
I
on.
will confess to that. I kept Instagram because for some reason, like, Instagram just doesn't weird me out like Facebook does.
I'm the opposite.
Really? Huh.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm the
well,
opposite.
I think it comes back to like knowing yourself and knowing like what are going to be your triggers to isolating yourself, escaping, and not being present to the people around you.
Triggers. That's a good word right there.
Yeah, hey. Yeah.
What are your triggers?
What are your triggers? Yeah, Facebook for me is a trigger. So I've just had to say like, nope, not going to do it. I'll check it on my computer maybe twice a day. That's it.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
I think I said this tip earlier, but bringing it back, don't be afraid to ask for what you need.
Yeah.
If that's something that's really hard for you, just start with something really simple. And that could be like, hey, husband, can you do the dishes tonight?
Yeah.
Instead of me?
Yeah.
Or, hey, roomie, can you maybe put your coffee cup in the dishwasher?
Yes.
I don't know, just like something small.
Or like, hey, I need to have some quiet space tonight. Would you mind like going out with your friends instead of staying home or something like that? For me, reading novels really is life-giving to me, just like losing myself in some good fiction. So, there's times I've just had to ask my husband like, hey, I just need to get out and go to the library. I don't even know what I'm going to get. I just need to go browse and look for some good books. Or even just taking my kids along. If it doesn't work out for me to go by myself, just saying like, hey, I need to do this. Yellow flags are coming up in my life, and I know I need to just go find some good stuff to read.
Before the red flags come up.
Before I'm like
gotta notice
raging,
those yellow flags first.
Raging rager. And I'm like eating everything and yelling at everyone and scrolling through Facebook feeling depressed. So if I get to that point, red flags, big time.
Right.
Well, we hope these tips are helpful to you. And really, this is a journey of self-discovery, of learning who God's made you to be and asking Him, what do I need to take out of my life? What do I need to add into my life to help me love the people around me that you have called me to love? We're just going to pray for that to be true in your life today. God, there's things in our lives that keep us from connecting with you and connecting with others, Lord, and we want more than anything to experience your love and to show your love to the people around us, God, whether we know them well or that they're strangers. We pray that you would help us to surrender and just relinquish and renounce the things that cause us to be more self-focused or isolated or numb to the people around us. And I pray, especially for the men and women listening today, Lord, that you would set them free from the things in their life that enslave them and cause them to shy away from building relationships, Lord. Break through their fears, break through their indifference, so that they would see your love in more powerful ways in their lives, and that they would have love to give to others, God. We thank you that through your Holy Spirit, all things are possible. Amen.
Thank you for listening to Ears to Speak today. If you liked what you heard, please go and subscribe to our podcast, review it, share it with a friend, and we would love it.
Show us some love. And if you want to get in contact with us, if you have any questions about the show, just want to drop us an encouraging note, or
A critical note?
a critical note. We received those too. We also received cookies. You can send us an email at connections@stonecroft.org. If you want to find out more resources about how to share your faith, you can go to stonecroft.org and check that out as well. Thank you so much for listening today, and we're looking forward to connecting with you again.